Like damn, she wanna afford to touch me. I say I own it, and she got it.
What's good? It's your boy Jay. That's me. Let's get into TNA Impact from September the 12th, 2024, an OK episode. This was the go-home show to tomorrow's Victory Road, the final pay-per-view before Bound for Glory, and we will go over the predictions for Victory Road. So we kicked the show off with the first match of the night. Steve Maclin defeats Hammerstone, which was dumb. He won via roll-up, which was stupid. Hammerstone took on Obafemi this past Tuesday on NXT. It was a great match. If you have not seen it, I urge you to watch it. A solid and fun match. It lasted about 5 to 7 minutes, but it was fun nonetheless. Moving on, post-match, Hammerstone attacks Steve Maclin. He puts him in a torture rack. Eric Young comes out and makes a save. Then Jake Something comes out for a second. Him and Hammerstone, they have a brief stare down, and this sets up for a tag match that's going to be on the Victory Road pre-show, basically. So, yeah, there's that. So, this is fine, I guess. Moving on. So, the system, they're backstage. So, Eddie Edwards says they got a system reboot. Moose says Lish will still be the queen of the knockouts. JDC will be a loose cannon, and Moose will be a 4-time TNA World Champion. And they say we can always trust the system. Who gives a shit? Fuck the system. Moving along, Steve Maclin's backstage. Eric Young says Eric Young showed him respect. Eric Young shows up and thanks Steve Maclin. And Maclin thanks him. And he says that he has his respect. Eric Young says that they'll show that it's about the size of the fight in the dog, and they'll see them at Victory Road. Okay, who really gives a damn? I don't care about it. Moving on, Heather Reckless. She defeats Giselle Shaw with the help of Ashby Elegance, who got involved. So she slapped Giselle Shaw, and George Iceman, the personal concierge, he distracted the referee. So this is fine. This makes perfect sense. Good stuff. Moving on. So we get another vignette from Xia Li. She cuts it in Mandarin. I forgot what she said, but it was kind of just to reiterate what she said last week. This is great. I'm glad that Xia Li is coming into TNA. Makes perfect sense. TNA's Knockouts division has been in shambles for a minute, and they need to start rebuilding ASAP. Again, Jordan Grace is on her way out. And Giselle Shaw is basically done with TNA as well. So, yeah. They need to do something. Moving on. So, Matt Cardona and Seth Leonard, they come out next. Matt Cardona says that he came back for everyone, and Santino thought that his comeback match should be against Rhino and PCO. Matt Cardona says this is an unsafe work environment. He says that he found the most violent and dangerous tag team partner. He says that his tag team partner is going to be Step the Lander. Matt Cardona tells Step the Lander to not and try to help her husband, because if she doesn't do what he says, he's going to send her back to Australia. So Matt Cardona hides behind Step the Lander, and then Step the Lander hits a low blow on Matt Cardona. PCO comes out and chokeslams Matt Cardona, and Step the Lander and PCO, they embrace. Who gives a shit? Fuck all this. Throw it into a blender or a wood chipper, either or. I'm tired of this nonsense. I'm tired of PCO. I'm tired of Matt Cardona, Ryan Myers, Moose, Eddie Edwards. Send those guys to Scott D'Amore's Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling promotion, please. Moving on. So we get a vignette involving Spitfire. So Gia Miller comes up to them and she says that they challenge for the tag team titles before Jody Threat says they'll break up if they don't win. Dana Lynch says it's been about the winning. My bad. It's been about winning the titles with pride. And then Jody Threat says it's do or die. Okay, who cares? Do I care about this? Not really. They'll probably win. Moving on. ABC, the Ace and Bay connection, they defeat AJ Francis and Casey Navarro in a tornado tag team match. I don't care about this at all. I'm just glad that the ABC got their win, which was great. Makes perfect sense. Moving on. So we get a vignette from Donovan Gresham. Not much is said, basically. Talking about how he's the king of Babylon and whatnot. And, you know, how anytime, if he needs to, he can go back into being a dark guy if he needs to. But for right now, he's in an okay spot. I guess that's what the vignette was saying. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention. Moving on. Joe Hendry. Yes, we believe in Joe Hendry. He's out next. He calls out Josh Alexander. Josh is in the crowd. He said the reason that he's there is for his safety, and he tells Joe to make him laugh. Joe Hendry says that he's prepared the Josh Alexander story. The song says he never saw Josh Alexander smile, and he was the Jesse Pinkman lookalike turned into Walter White, and he's the Kurt Angle from Wish. That was funny. I love that. So the fans can't you suck at Josh. Josh says that Joe Hendry is worried about him smiling. He says he should be the one snapping ankles in NXT, but they got him. Josh says that he did everything the right way, and Joe is put in that position because he had a couple of videos that went viral. Josh says that he'll be smiling from ear to ear when he ends Joe, and the fans will be chanting walking weapon. Joe says if they could get them to chant something else, and he saw a sign earlier in the crowd that said walking wiener. Josh says that at Victory Road he's going to end it once and for all, so that the fans can see what a real professional wrestler looks like. Joe Hendry says that he traveled all over the world making believers. Joe Hendry says the fans are going to chant "We Believe" louder than ever when he beats Josh Alexander at Victory Road. This is great. This makes perfect sense. I love Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry should obviously go over. A bit of news and note real quick. So Josh basically wants out of TNA. It seems like. Now I know some reports are saying that he might go to WWE and kind of reunite the North with Ethan Page, or he's going to go to AEW. I think the answer to both those questions is going to be no. I don't see him going to WWE because he's injury prone. Josh is in his late 30s, early 40s. I just don't see it happening. I just don't. WWE is trying to go younger, and even if he were to go to NXT, he would just be a mid-carder, just like he kind of is now, you know. Sending with AEW, he would just be a mid-carder, just doing stuff on Collision and Rampage, basically. He wouldn't even be on the card, the main card for an AEW pay-per-view. It just wouldn't happen, you know. Josh Alexander, I'm not being mean, he's just not over. He was only over because Scott D'Amore pushed him. That's why he was over. You know, Scott D'Amore was the one that thought he was like the second coming of Kurt Angle and whatnot, or the Canadian Kurt Angle, but that wasn't true. You know, Josh Alexander is fine, but when he was champion, he was a boring champion because we only cared about two feuds. That was him and Bully Ray and him and Moose, and that was it. So Josh is very, very boring, and he's very bland. So yeah. Moving on. So Jordynne Grace, she walks up to Ariana Grace, and she says, "Welcome here." She said that she's welcome here, that being Ariana Grace. She says, "Wendy Chu, however, is not welcome here." Jordynne Grace asks, "Who uses a pillow?" Ariana Grace says at Victory Road, nothing will happen to her. Jordynne Grace says, "Promises mean something here." And then Ariana Grace, she stuck out her pinky finger to Jordynne Grace, And Jordan's like, nah, we don't do that here. That was good. That was good. I'm loving Ariana Grace. She's so damn cool. I love her. She's great. She's a star in the making for sure. Moving on. So Mike Santana, he's backstage. He says that Nick Nemeth is doing a hell of a job as champion, but he hopes that Moose wins the world title because it's going to be another thing he's going to take from Moose. Moose does not need to be TNA champion. They can still continue their feud without Moose being champion. Moving on. So, Ash by Elegance defeats Xia Brookside. This is a rematch. This is like their third time facing each other in like a 2-month period, basically. So, Heather, what's her name? Heather Reckless, she comes out and she helps out Ash by Elegance for whatever reason. So they're going to turn her heel slowly but surely. And then both of them go to the back together, so that's cool. Moving on. Nick Nemeth, he's backstage. He says that Moose says that he had his chance and blew it. Nick Nemeth said that he complained and begged Triple H, The Rock, John Cena, and begged them. Nick says there's only one way to go, to hit Moose in the face, which I agree with. Moving on. Ash by Elegance is backstage. She's complaining about her hair to George Iceman, aka the personal concierge. When Heather Reckless walks in, they both like helping her. My bad. They both liked her helping Ash by Elegance, and they both agreed to give her a makeover. And then George Iceman offers her one of his business cards if she wants to, talk to him about some stuff. So that was pretty cool. Moving on, main event of the evening. The Hardys, Jeff and Matt Hardy, they defeat the System, which was great, and that was TNA. So this was fun. It makes sense. Pretty okay show. Let's get into the predictions for Victory Road. We have 10 matches on the card, which in my opinion is a little bit too much, but it is what it is. Let's start with the pre-show. So, I think Kushida and Leon Slater, they're going to be on the pre-show. So, I'm hoping that Leon Slater wins. He's pretty okay. He reminds me of the English version of Javon Evans from NXT. But Kushida will probably go over here. And moving on to the next pre-show match, Eric Young and Steve Maclin taking on Hammerstone and Jake Something. I'm hoping that Jake Something and Hammerstone win. They need to. I can't stand Eric Young. He fucking sucks. And Steve Maclin is just basically a mid-card guy. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. He's a gatekeeper at this point. He's a damn gatekeeper. Moving on to the main card. Zachary Wentz versus Mike Bailey for the TNA X Division Championship. Zachary Wentz is going to retain, and so that way he can continue his feud with Wesley. Moving on, Matt Cardona and Step DeLander to take on PCO and Rhino. So they'll probably win that being Matt Cardona and Step DeLander. Who gives a shit? Moving on, Masha Slamovich, her and Tasha Steelz are going to be taking on Spitfire for the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Championships. Spitfire have to win this. It's time for Alicia Edwards and Masha Slamovich to go their separate ways. Masha Slamovich needs to be built back up so she can take on Jordan Grace. That's what I would do. Moving right along, the Hardys versus First Class, AJ Francis and Casey Navarra. Just a random tag team match. The Hardys are going to win, obviously, and they're going to stick around with TNA for the remainder of the year. So we should see them back in WWE, probably around the Royal Rumble. So yeah, there's that. Speaking of tag teams, let's keep it moving. ABC, Chris Bay and Ace Austin, they're going to take on the System. Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers for the TNA World Tag Team Championships. ABC's going to retain. Why not? Moving on. Jordan Grace versus Wendy Chu from NXT for the TNA World Knockouts World Championship. Jordan Grace is obviously going to win this for sure. Moving on. Joe Hendry versus Josh Alexander. Joe Hendry's going to win this hands down. It makes sense. Main event of the evening. Nick Nemeth versus Moose for the TNA World Championship. Nick Nemeth is going to win, obviously. Fuck Moose. So, TNA was okay. And Victory Road should be alright. Hopefully we get some surprises. Maybe Xia Li shows up. Maybe. I'm going to go over the predictions one more time. Kushida to win. Hammerstone and Eric Young. My bad. Hammerstone and Jake Something to win. Zachary Wentz to retain. Step DeLander and Matt Cardona to defeat PCL and Rhino. Spitfire will win the TNA World Knockouts Tag Team Championships. The Hardys will defeat First Class. The ABC, they'll defeat the System and retain the TNA World Tag Team Championships. Joe Hendry is going to defeat Josh Alexander. Jordan Grace will retain her championship over Wendy Chu. And Nick Nemeth will defeat Moose. But what did you guys think of TNA? Let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.